Well, thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. I appreciate the opportunity to be here today. As stated, my name is Joel Cherkas, and I look after the worldwide government and defense business for Microsoft. I'm based at Microsoft headquarters just outside of Seattle, Washington, in the United States, and I have the privilege of being able to spend a lot of time with governments and governmental organizations every day around the world to hear about some of the challenges and the opportunities. And I thought what I would do is take a little bit of time to talk about some of the opportunities that we see to work together and to partner together, not just with the public sector organizations, but also with the private sector organizations. I also think it's a very interesting space for us to focus our time and our efforts because of the opportunities that exist that governments are trying to support. I've been with Microsoft for about 10 years, and 5 of those years I focused from a global perspective. 5 of those years I focused in the US. I was based in Washington, DC, and I looked after the business with the federal government and the state and local government. And one of the things that I hear every day from governmental organizations is the need to do more with either the same resources or in many cases less resources. And the end result that we've seen is that governments are beginning to do new things with the resources that are available. And this becomes very interesting to us because when we look at the expectations that the people within the countries, within the states, the provinces, the cities, the expectations are higher than ever. We see citizens that are looking for governmental services, whether they are delivered in an e-government environment, so via small screen devices or electronically, or even still the traditional model for people that don't have access to online or digital access, being able to go to a government service center and still receive the same high level or high quality of services. We see the expectations of people that work within the boundaries that governments support, whether they're government workers or whether they're the private sector organizations that work closely with those governments. And we see that correlation or that request set of services for things like modern applications, modern devices, higher levels of security and encryption capabilities that are being delivered for the services, and systems that are easy to audit to ensure compliance from a legal or a policy perspective. We also see a unique set of requirements for the leaders within the governmental organizations. And these tend to be things like dashboards or very quick access to information that allow governments to make decisions very quickly. And this becomes very important in the state of just the daily occurrences that occur for which the government is focused, whether it tends to be on citizen issues, transportation issues, education issues, public safety, or these types of scenarios. And so our focus is very heavily oriented towards delivering services and working closely with partners because the challenges that we see are getting more complex every day. In fact, there's this urbanization model that we're watching very closely. And the urbanization model is around people that are moving into urban centers. And if you follow any of the input from places like the World Economic Forum or the World Bank and the resource demands that are occurring, today about 50% of the people in the world live within a city. And a city is typically defined as a geographic area with about 100,000 people or more aggregated in a specific area. Well, today, half of the world's population are oriented in cities. We know that with the flow of people that are moving into the cities, this is going to increase to about 75% of the people in the world by the year 2050. The challenge becomes how you ensure that the right sets of services and capabilities exist in the cities to support all of the people that are moving or coming to work within those cities. And the infrastructure that you tend to see that is in either an aging environment or in need of repair or upgrade, and ensuring that those capabilities exist. This becomes the #1 challenge that we hear from city leaders, because the goal of the cities typically is to create jobs or have better paying jobs within the city so that people can have a better quality of life. But as more people come, the requirements or the stress on the infrastructure become very, very demanding. There's also an issue with the time it takes to upgrade those infrastructure requirements. And I'll use a very simple example. I live in the city of Seattle, or just outside of the city of Seattle, And the infrastructure within the city for the water system and the energy grids are about 100 years old. And over time, those systems have become to break down. Those systems are no longer fully functioning. And it becomes extremely expensive to upgrade, say, the water system beneath a city. Because to upgrade the system, you need to go beneath the city to replace some of that infrastructure. And the cities have to know where the biggest areas of opportunity are for replacement or upgrading. And there are very modern techniques that are allowing these to occur, especially in areas of things like looking for water leaks that exist beneath the streets or the buildings, and then finding ways to take certain parts of the system offline while still delivering the service capacity to the different groups within the cities. So the issues are very complex, and they are growing very, very quickly. So what we've been doing is working closely around the world with different cities and understanding what role technology plays in supporting each of these long-term goals, as well as the short-term opportunities. The first tends to be around embracing or engaging in a mobility strategy. And we work with governments every day in understanding how a small screen device or a mobile government worker can be better engaged to deliver services to the people of which they serve. Again, whether it tends to be the citizens or the worker populations. And these are things like inspectors. This is one of the #1 areas where we spend time in government. It's enabling inspectors that need to go and inspect some sort of platform. They could be food inspectors that are working with the Health Services Organization. They could be child welfare inspection that are working with Health and Human Services to ensure that children have the right safety and security wherever they happen to be. These could be building inspectors that are inspecting either new infrastructure that's being built or inspecting aged infrastructure and knowing where the opportunities exist to prioritize how resolution will occur. But having a platform and having the right types of devices that are encrypted, that are only accessible by the people that should have access to that information, and that they're auditable, so that in the event that device is left behind or lost or accessed inappropriately, that the data is only available to the people that need to see that information. Mobility tends to be the #1 trend that we see governments trying to address. And there are a lot of different strategies in place. And from a Microsoft perspective, we work in a variety of the areas. We work obviously in the desktop, we work in the data center, but we spend a lot of time now looking at the role that the cloud will play. And this becomes extremely important because as mobility is increasing, as people are more mobile in the way they work and the types of jobs that they do, we're finding that they tend to be more socially receptive, or they interact in a more social way. And in some cases, it's a consumer-based environment, so people that are using services like Twitter and Facebook and those types of social interaction are now bleeding into the workplace. And we're seeing work organizations that are using these types of services to communicate or allow conversations to occur within the borders of their organization. From a Microsoft perspective, I don't know how many people have heard of something called Yammer, but we have it's a service, it's a web service that in essence, it mimics Facebook. It's a social environment that allows people internal within an organization to have conversations and to communicate, but to do it securely within the confines of their organization. Internally in Microsoft, we use it with our business development teams that are building new products, where they're looking internally for employees that are interested in new technologies. We have gaming capabilities within Microsoft, and they're looking for people to test games, which my children, as you can imagine, are always interested in participating with. But we use these types of forums internally to have conversations that are only available to people internally. But we also see these same capabilities now with police forces, so that a police organization can be talking internally. We see it with transportation organizations that are looking to drive a better set of services as well. Now, as I mentioned, to connect all of these different pieces together, there's a cloud infrastructure or a cloud platform. And the cloud, from a Microsoft perspective, can be a public cloud offer, a type of service that you can procure typically at a low monthly rate with a certain amount of capacity and storage, or it can be a cloud or a private cloud environment that's running within a data center that the organization happens to have, or that a partner is running for that organization. The other two big trends that we're seeing are around big data, and I've seen some of the sessions this morning that are talking around data analytics, and from a topic, there really are no organizations in the world outside of government that have the volume of information that is stored in a central location. It's having an analytical approach to supporting and measuring it. The most important thing to realize, though, is that as all of these different capabilities come together, there needs to be a security platform. And so we've been focusing very heavily on how we ensure the encryption capabilities, the access capabilities, regardless of the device. And you'll notice I don't say regardless of the Windows device, which is the Microsoft operating system, but it's regardless of the device, because we have capabilities to manage devices that are Apple-made, whether they're iOS, whether they're obviously the Mac platforms, but also the Android-based devices. These become critically important for us. The other thing that I wanted to mention here briefly is that when we look towards the future, our vision is very clear. Microsoft has a new CEO in place, a gentleman by the name of Satya Nadella. In our 40 years in existence, we've now had 3 CEOs. And our vision going forward is very simple. We understand that there is a platform that needs to exist for things to be connected together. And that's the role of the cloud, whether it's public, whether it's private, or realistically in the government space, it's a hybrid type of a model. We also understand that the role that devices will play, whether it's mobility from a device, an actual physical device, or mobility of people that need access to information wherever they happen to be out and working. And then there's an intersection in the middle that we call the digital lifestyle, and that's how people come together and work together as they pursue whatever goals that they ultimately are driving. So with that, hopefully that gives you an idea of where we're driving from a vision perspective. Microsoft obviously is proud to be supporting the event, but we're also proud to be working probably in every city where you happen to be located. And we work very closely with the partner companies, again, many of which are here today and this week. And we work very closely to look at the opportunities that exist and work together to solve some of those challenges. So with that, I thank you.